If you could say one thing to Putin, what would that be? This video series is my personal account of traveling within Ukraine during the war, including going to the Far East to the front line. Nothing more, nothing less.
Vladimir Putin has launched a major military operation against...
Today, this building was bombed.
Sounds you can hear behind us is Russian artillery hitting the city.
Just wanted to destroy the civilization.
This is my house.
This is your house. So what you're saying is this war is more scary than World War II.
Every man will fight.
Bits of missile, explosive smell.
This is Russian world.
Destruction everywhere. When they go outside, they feel like they're playing lottery with their life.
Your and her heart are near.
Unexploded missile here. Destroyed buildings everywhere. The air raid sirens going off in the background. This one's completely burnt out.
It's probably one of the most dangerous cities in the world at the moment.
Let's see how this goes. It's really quite hard for me to convey how many bullet holes are here.
Now we've been told to stay right here because they expect that a Russian counter-artillery
Welcome back to Kiev, the capital city of Ukraine here. Walking down the streets, you can see here there's a sign behind me, a road sign with a number taped up, and that's in case there were some Russian spies with drones or surveillance or anything, so they can't really triangulate attacks, missile attacks or whatever. So, you know, that gives a sign of the tenseness of the city. There is normal life, you know, returning restaurants and things, but a few days ago there was a missile strike, so you know, you never really know. But today we're heading to Bucha and Irpin, two cities that were absolutely decimated during the war. We're going to meet a local young man who was there during the Russian occupation of his city. It's about an hour or so drive there, I believe. Might be a bit difficult in places. You have to be careful of some of the routes. I think they're clearing them up, but there have been reports of landmines on the road, and as the Russians were fleeing, leaving booby traps like under toys and rubble and things. So let's get on the road now, drive and see more of what's going on in this country currently. It's heavy. So we're currently going around this bridge because it's been bombed. Okay, so we've been driving for about 45 minutes and you can just see absolute scenes of destruction. Few military checkpoints. This is actually the entrance to Irpin here, and just destroyed buildings everywhere. This is a bridge behind me. That's a temporary bridge. This one's been bombed. I've been told to watch my step because there could be booby traps that the Russians left when they left this place. They put sometimes lines along the ground and then you could kick them with your foot and a mine goes off, or a bomb of sorts, or they'll put like a toy or a bottle or something, and if you move that you can set off an explosive. So you got to really watch where you're putting your feet around here, from what I've been told. Give directions here. So we made it through another military checkpoint, and this is one of the first buildings we're greeted with. When the Russians originally left Irpin and Bucha and surrounding places, there were just bodies on the street, children, women, pets, everything killed. I mean, just look. You can see cars here just littered with bullet holes. This car here is a Lithuanian car. You can just see how many bullet holes. It's really quite hard for me to convey how many bullet holes are here. All these fences along here, you might not be able to make it out on camera, but just absolutely sprayed with bullet holes. So what was this building, did you say?
Someone's flat.
Civilian home.
Yeah, just a civilian home. Maybe it was a shop or something like. I don't know. Just right now, it's hard to define what it was.
These little pots over here, could that be a trap?
It can be. Never try to open such a stuff, because inside maybe a grenade or something like.
Because it looks quite out of place, right?
Yeah.
Because everything's destroyed and there's a little pot there.
Yeah, they were building all that to live, and now they have no place to live at all, and all their lives are ruined, and I don't know whether these people are alive even.
So you have to be very careful to stand on other people's footprints here.
Food traps all over the places with grenades or mines, so we need to be careful.
This just goes on and on. This is a small part of it, you know. Every building around here that I can see is destroyed. So we're just walking along the footpath here, and down here is a toy gun. We've been strictly told do not touch this because it could be some kind of a trap. See a children's playground here, bullet holes in the slide, and up there on that residential building there, there's a hole which could have potentially been a tank right into the side of that. We've just come along the road here, and there's some people with a dog having a fire, cooking some food. They've got some things they want to share.
They started to bomb all over the place from both sides of the building, so there were no place to hide. All the glass were broke and they needed to hide, so they came in the corridor because the walls are a little bit bigger and harder, so they can hide. They were just hiding there for 3 or 4 days.
What the Russians are saying is that they're aiming for only military targets. Can you ask her if that's true?
Killing civilians and destroying all civil infrastructure. She's trying to clean up everything and cover the windows, make this place livable, but she's afraid what she's gonna do when the winter will come. Because now it's not as cold as it will be in winter or in autumn even.
Thanks.
Here they were hiding because the walls are quite
Thick.
thick, yeah, and just sitting like that, many people over here in order to keep their lives. There were 6 of them, and they were aiming her with the guns, so she was very scared. It's just.
So the Russians pointed guns at her.
They were 18 years old or something like Russians, but they did not kill her, but they were aiming, so in order to scare her. Lots and lots of missiles landed in the river over there. So still there are lots of them there. Maybe they're dangerous. I don't know.
So they haven't been exploded.
Yeah,
and they're sitting in the river.
They said that it's 100 meters actually, or maybe 150. They were very lucky that they wanted to bomb this living sector over there, but Russians are not the best warriors, and
They
so
missed.
They missed.
Yeah.
They missed.
Вот видите, он та квартира аж провалился потолок.
Rocket flight inside the building,
И
and
начался
the floor
пожар.
fell on the previous floor, on the down floor. Can you imagine? Here it's the parts of the rocket. You may see, and shrapnel. If it comes in the leg or somewhere, it's just.
So you were just saying about that people think that you would die instantly in something like this, but you were saying with the shrapnel and the debris and things, sometimes you bleed to death. Is often the case.
Usually you die because of bleeding, because you cannot stop the bleed.
If you could say one thing to Putin, what would that be?
передать Владимиру Путину?
Я скажу, что по всей планете и для нас, для Украины и для всех людей мира сейчас враг номер один – это Путлер.
The enemy number one, he is Putler.
Мы это чувствуем, вашу поддержку и вашу доброту, ваше сердце доброе. Европа – это же вообще, это прекрасно.
Every time she hears something, then she feels like there's an attack coming.
Yeah. Even I can feel when someone, the dog is barking near or some noise. I feel stressed, but I lived in Kiev, where I heard far away this bombing. She's been sitting in the place where it's bombed right here, and at her flat, at her house, I can't even imagine what she feels when she hears these noises, or barking of a dog, or a car moving fast.
Такие баллоны.
But it's very heavy, so she cannot use it actually.
Obviously no electricity or hot water.
Есть сейчас электричество или горячая вода?
Нет ничего,
No
ни
electricity,
воды,
no hot
ничего.
water, no water at
И
all.
не знаем, когда будет.
You've been sleeping
She's
here,
sleeping here.
and then there's more rooms in there, but she's too scared to go in there because it's close to the
I
wall.
don't know, actually it's all blocked right now.
But the other side, like that's her house as well, but she's too scared to go in there.
Yeah.
Right. What's the dog's
А у
name?
нас там
Как зовут
больш...
собачку вашу?
Боня, а та
Боня.
Ирпень,
Боня.
Ирпень-то
And
называется.
another dog is Irpin.
Okay, beautiful. And your name?
А вас как звать?
Галина.
Helena. Nick.
Ник, очень приятно.
Nice to meet you.
Ой,
It's nice to
холодные
meet you too.
ручки у вас.
Yeah, she said that you have very cold hands.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cold, but I'm here for 5 minutes. You live here, you know? I can't
Он
imagine.
говорит, что он тут 5 минут уже замерз, а вы тут все время живете, он может только
А я
представить
чаю горячего, и возле мангала было, я нагрелась, и вот видите, а вы вот
making
тоненькая,
all
я
the
вот...
time tea, hot tea, and sitting near the fire, so she can keep her hands warm. Yeah, and she's trying to cover herself with clothes. Now it's almost summer. It's just spring.
Yeah.
But she been here when it was minus 20, minus 10.
Right.
So I don't know how she survived.
You're a lot stronger than me.
Очень сильная женщина, говорит.
Вы знаете, спасибо.
Can you explain for somebody like me who's never been under airstrike, what's the ground? Is is everything shaking? What's going on?
Казалось, что десятибальная.
She felt like it's
Вот так все ходила гостинка, вот
points,
так, вот так
over
все. И
here.
мы здесь стояли, все, смерти ждали.
They thought that they will die right here. It's like the hardest earthquake you can imagine.
Ангел-хранитель сильный, и
The
он нас
guardian
спас, и
angel,
Бог нас спас.
was very strong and helped her to
И
survive.
ваше,
And the God
ваше
helped.
сердце доброе, ваши души, вот там
Your
хорошие,
good soul and your
сильные,
good heart, helped
которые
her
переживали за нас, это все
also. Who were
вместе нас
worried about
спасло.
her, and
Это
that
всё.
gave her opportunity to survive.
So we've driven to just near the railway station here in Irpin, destroyed railway bridge here. It was colder inside that house than it was outside the building, and she's just sleeping on blankets on the hard floor in that freezing cold weather. There are construction workers here fixing the bridges and things. They're trying to get things back to normal. But yeah, there's a soldier coming towards me. He probably wants to see what I'm doing, so better go and see him.
5:30. Фриланс Фишер Николас, Новая Зеландия.
So the military guy was on the other side of the river and just asking for my credentials and things. I do actually have military accreditation here to film, which has been super helpful so far. I've needed to show it a few times. Now we're going to Bucha, a town that faced some terrible things, but I'd rather you hear it from the locals directly. I'm gonna go meet a young man called Pasha who lives there, and he was there during the Russian occupation. So on the way to Bucha, we've just stopped off at this bridge here. If you've seen some photos of the war in Ukraine, you might have seen this bridge, the iconic scene of the war. Have a look. This is so they've now built a side road there, but you can see, taking out all this infrastructure to stop logistics and movements during the war is a big goal. I've seen some photos of people evacuating before they built this side road, and they would have to abandon their car there. Some of them might even still be in Europe and things, and outside of Ukraine to the west. They've left everything behind here and headed to a safer place. Who knows when they'll come back. There's some incredible photos that you'll see on the screen now of people hiding underneath this bridge, waiting to be evacuated, and they were hiding under the bridge in case of more strikes. There's a pram here. Wonder what story that tells. So we've arrived in Bucha. To relay the scale to you of the destruction is almost impossible. I mean, I'm showing you lots of destroyed buildings and things, but there's many more. About 420 people were massacred here. Mass executions up against walls and things. We've come to the McDonald's. You can see it's all smashed out. Cool, so we've met a local man called Pasha.
Yes, hello.
And you said that your grandmother lived on the third floor here.
Yes, third floor.
Right.
He lived there, but when it was bombed, she lived underground with us.
So she was already hiding when this happened, luckily.
Yes, and in the next day, when I come in here to see it, I come back to my grandmama and tell that she's fled all in fire. She said, "Fucking Russian, take my flat and go away."
Some people died in here?
Yes, yes.
Yeah?
Because here was a humanitarian stop.
Oh, really? So that this is where people would come to get food and water?
Yes.
And the Russians targeted back?
Yes, because here was Ukrainian military defense,
Right.
territory defense here,
Okay.
and they see it and they don't understand that military defense, it means that people come here to take food, to take water,
Yeah.
not to weapons.
Yeah.
Yes, it's only for food and water for people.
And did you ever expect this to happen in your city of Bucha? Could you ever imagine that you'd wake up one day and
no, I don't
Russians would
imagine.
invade?
I'm have all days flashbacks. Wake up and see, oh, how it was in my city. It's like a video game.
You can't believe it.
I can't believe it, but now people understand that it can repeat in one day. If
So you think that it might happen again?
yes, if
Yeah.
Putin in president in his country, in Russia, it I think never end.
Really?
Yes.
So the guys have just picked up some potatoes and basic needs, eggs and things. And we're taking these to an old lady, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Понял, а в ЗСУ я срочку уже прошел. А ну. Это консервы, это еда.
We've come into this nice lady's house. Would you like to introduce this lady for us?
Her name is Irina Alexandrovna. She was born in 1942.
Это еще халат не стиранный.
Это нормально.
Это, да. Еще с того времени
She's
это он
embarrassed
меня
about
спас.
being a little bit dirty because it's helped her to survive, she's telling.
The dressing gown.
Yeah. She's happy to wear it because it's helped.
Tell her not to worry.
She's wearing it for 2 months
Воды.
right now because it was no electricity and water.
There's a really interesting point that I think we should talk about people having to wear white to signify that they are part of the Russian invasion.
Russians were wearing these white stripes on their hands to represent that they are part of Russian military formations in order not to fire on each other.
And then they started getting the civilians to do the
They
same.
asked civilians also to wear these white stripes on their hands, on their heads, on their legs to reflect that they are part of Russian world in order not to fire in them, but they automatically may be in danger because Ukrainian army attack people who are in white stripes. So it was very hard for Ukrainian military forces to recognize whether it's a civilian or it's a military forces. Maybe because of that it's one of the points why Russians asked civilians to wear that, to make all the same mass of people like hostage, to cover by hostage, you know?
So human shield.
Yeah, like a human shield. Our soldiers were in such a situation where they need to decide whether to shoot or not, to look where they're shooting, so they were breaking these war rules by this, as I think.
So the Russians were hoping that the Ukrainian soldiers would accidentally shoot
Shoot
civilians?
civilians or will not shoot at all, and they
Okay.
have more time before you look whether it's a civilian or not, because he has this stripe, and maybe sometimes Russian soldiers in civilian form, maybe with a gun or something like, and this white stripe, so our soldier need to decide, he wasting time, and Russian soldier may shoot him at this time.
Я не одевала то, что я...
If you do not wear this white stripe, they will fire at you. Man was moving somewhere and they shot him just because he moved without this
Да,
stripe.
это страшно без этого.
Без повязки ходить.
Да, это
says
кто
it's
не ходил, вот
Very
ребята,
dangerous to move
которые
without this
не
stripe.
ходили, говорит, мы не оденем свастику,
Some guys said that they don't want to wear these white stripes because they don't want Russian signs on them. Those who said I don't want to wear this white swastika did not wear.
Swastika?
Yeah. They called it. I don't know why they called it as she says. So they think maybe that Russians are Nazis. Our local Ukrainians were burying people in front of their houses because they had no possibility to bury it on a cemetery. Maybe in 5 or 10 meters near the house, many people were buried. Many people were asking to help to bury someone who was dead and lying on the street because dogs were eating people and carrying them all over the place, parts.
Seriously?
People's parts. Yeah.
So like street dogs were carrying around
Street
body
dogs
parts?
were eating and carrying bodies and, pulling up the meat of the bones. So decided to bury people where they are and then later bury them normally.
So a lot of these donations come from other countries. For example, these noodles are from France. So, if you're in Europe somewhere and there's a Ukraine food collection, then, the food does get to places like this where it's really needed for vulnerable people. So you were born during World War II. Could you ever imagine that something like this would come to your very doorstep all these years later?
She said that there are lots of families who live both part of them in Ukraine, part of them in Russia. There are many, it was a lot of brotherhood on her memory between the nations, and she couldn't imagine even if in a dream that such a situation may happen. She didn't realize that Russians will destroy this our famous Maria aircraft.
Because that happened at the start, right, of the war?
Yeah.
The biggest airplane in the world, right?
And she was engaged in building this plane.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So for her, it's like something that she couldn't imagine. It's like Russians not just destroyed the city she lives, they also destroyed the work of all her life.
Do you have a message for Russia and the Russian people specifically? Not the government, but the people.
I'd tell them to stop and think about what they're doing. How can you kill children? They've got mothers. There was a Russian tank with 18-year-olds inside. They're just children. They don't understand. They were told, we are going to do military exercises. But it's not exercises if they kill people. If there were dead bodies here on the street, it's impossible. And those women who support this, I just appeal to them. I ask them to stop and think about who they are supporting. They stole everything from some people I know. They also smashed everything. The Russian soldiers asked the people I know to give them a VHS to watch a movie. They told them everything we've got is on flash drives in cities. The Russian soldiers said, this can't be. Let us kill you.
Пожалуйста. All the grannies and mothers ask Putin to stop, to think about what he's doing and to stop.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Спасибо вам большое.
Спасибо. Боже, руки холодные.
Can you tell her good luck?
Желаем вам удачи. Спасибо вам огромное.
Слава Украине.
Слава Украине. Героям слава.
Слава
Спасибо
Украине,
большое.
да.
Пойдемте.
Да. Ну ничего, зато сердца близки.
She says that your and her heart are near.
А ты женатый?
Are you married? She's asking.
Not yet.
Еще нет пока что.
Еще нет. Ну ничего. Хорошая невеста будет добыть.
Хорошо.
Все, до свидания. Спасибо.
So we've come to Pasha's house, and around the side here all the windows have been replaced, and you can see on the side of his fence here. What kind of weapon is this? Because some of these are big holes, eh?
You drop mine.
Oh, okay.
Drops, then and it's like a tube. You just drop missile and it goes boom.
My dog died here because some iron
Pieces of iron from missile wounded the dog, and the dog died because of that.
I show my dog. This is my dog. Barsik, named Barsik, Newfoundland. Around 70 kilograms. It was big dog.
How old was he?
7 years.
7.
Yes, he's
So sorry.
very beautiful and nice dog.
So sorry.
This garage was made of wood, I think so.
Yes.
Then it went on fire, and now they cleaned it up already, and everything is clean. But dog died and all burned up, so I can't imagine.
And do you have any message that you want to say to the Russian military or government?
Yes, русские, идите нахуй.
People were dead, without clothes, without pants, without anything, naked absolutely, lying on the streets when it is -10 outside. Women, for example, were naked and were raped.
There were some reports of dogs being butchered and eaten by Russian soldiers. Do you know of that to be true?
Yeah, I even saw the many photos that dogs were killed, and their arms, legs of the dogs were screwed with a screwdriver, to some wooden plank, so they could flash them and then eat. I don't know for what did they do it. Maybe they couldn't find any eat and they ate it dogs as well.
You've been invited into Pasha's house for some vodka. Yeah.
Good сюжет.
Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty smooth. That's okay.
Now we're gonna drink for the lives of the defenders that were given
Не
to
тільки
protect
за Україну, не тільки за
not just
Європу, а й за
Ukrainian
весь
or
світ.
European civilization, but the whole world's civilization.
Царство Небесне.
What an absolute honor to be invited into that family's house to, give their respects to those that have died in the war. It's absolutely beautiful. Your mother, Pasha, just came straight out and gave us both a hug,
Yes.
Very nice.
Like a friend.
Yeah, exactly. To be in Bucha where all this stuff happened and then to come into a house and hear the stories and things, it's an honor, Okay, Pasha, so we've come to your local supermarket here. You were saying when the war, when there was fighting in the streets, they had closed the supermarket, but people were wanting food. And you have a video to show where people actually broke into the supermarket, right, to get food.
Просто пиздец.
So the locals came and smashed down the windows.
Yes,
and then took food.
Smashed down in windows, and one big rocket coming here, and here was a big hole.
Oh, so the rocket up here,
yes,
right?
And here was a big hole.
So you mentioned earlier about your grandmother who was in a building over there that luckily wasn't in the exploded building, but you mentioned that another grandma of yours sadly died of a heart attack during the war. A second grandmother had a heart attack.
Yes, heart attack because she was old, 80 years old. She crying every day because she listened to attack and heart attack. It's very pain.
I really appreciate you showing around your city today, and it's a beautiful city, lots of lovely modern buildings and parks and nice houses and things, so hopefully you build back. And
I think a few years and we build it again and be goodest than now.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, bro.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Okay, so back in Kiev, a true honor to meet the array of people that we met, of all backgrounds really. Like I've mentioned, I've been to Ukraine a handful of times and people have always been great to me, and I love coming back here. Obviously this time it's a different Ukraine, but the kindness of the people prevails. I must say I am doing a fundraiser. If you would like to donate, it helps people with basic necessities, whether it's food supplies, blankets. The money also goes to help victims on the front line, whether that's with first aid and things, vital lifelines. If you'd like to donate, I'll leave the information below. There's different price points there. makes a huge difference. If you have a bit of money. I've seen what you guys have been able to in the past. If we can chip in and help the people of Ukraine at the moment, they surely need it. It would go a long way. You can see how grateful they are for the international help. Multiple people have just brought it up on their own. I haven't brought it up, and they've just said thank you to the international community for taking their side and helping them during this monstrous, horrific time that they're facing. I'll leave that information down below. You can read up more about the charity and the help that they provide, which is incredible. There's a good trust rating there, and yeah, I'll end it on that. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Ну ничего, зато сердца близки.
She says that your and her heart are near.